Here we go. I think we're live now. Third time's a charm. We messed up a number of times. And when I say we,
You mean you, specifically, Jason.
I specifically mean me. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome officially to, I see 2 green check marks beside.
Yeah, it's weird,
Over there.
You gotta get
Yeah,
used
it's
to it.
weird. Over there beside the Facebook and the YouTube icon. We're streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube today. It's episode
Hi-yo!
81. Hello, everyone.
First friends first.
Yes.
My name is Adrian Constant.
What?
Yep.
Okay, and I'm Jay. And today we're very lucky. We've been talking about having this gentleman on the show for quite a long time. Adrian and I met him on the set of Michael Malco's short film that we did many years ago.
Yeah.
It feels like. So we've known each other. I've known this gentleman as long as I've known Adrian. And we've worked together on a number of projects, but this guy is super fascinating, has had a really long career behind the camera, and so hopefully we get to hear a bunch of cool stories. So without further ado, we'll bring on our good friend Danny Bailey.
Hey!
Well, hello.
Danny.
Show 81. I'm pumped for this. You know, I'm a big fan of what you're doing, right? I mean, and when you go back, I mean, I would love to see a highlight reel. You need to get a student from the college to go through like all of them, right? Give them a job, pay them $200, you know, put it together. But you know,
Danny, it's tough to do a highlight reel. Like people need to just watch all of the shows. It's hard to have a highlight reel when every minute of every show
is a highlight.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know, it's always
yeah.
Most of the time, it's better to give it to somebody else and let them look at it and go, you know, this is worth, you know, the time, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think if a student watched 80 episodes of our show,
well, you know, but you know what? If you're paying them,
would.
It's a different story. I'm telling you there, right? You know, just don't say I need a student from the college that needs to, you know, finish the last year and doing some poverty project.
You know, I'd be happy if someone listened to all the shows and took notes about what we were talking about, so we can remember. That would be handy.
Yeah, you know what? I know that there's some software. It's like voice recognition software. I've never used it, right? But it will pick out words, you know, and just go through all your files. So you just it's almost like doing a reversal search for pictures or you know video or whatever, like TinEye or Google.
Yeah. So you just run it through this and it just pull out all the text.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Whatever you put in as keywords, it brings it back, and it's like, I mean, that's how we get all these great, amazing network news clips of Trump. You know, I mean, well, there's been a fantastic trove of Trump video memes of people, you know, making music videos, making him sing. You know, you know, it's just modern technology.
Yeah, I would, you know what? It would be a lot of fun to have somebody go through and pick out the best moments. I've often, one of the things that I have always wanted to do is take like, you know, we have our YouTube channel, and I'd love to make like a playlist of some of the things that we talk about, or some of the videos that we talk about, and you make this playlist of all the different things. And then on YouTube, you actually, like, I don't know, change the title or change the verbiage. So you could say, like, on episode, you know, 81 of First Frames First, here's the 3 YouTube videos that we referenced or whatever. And people would be able to go and take a look at all those different things. That way they can go to your channel if they've watched your show
now, right? I mean, anything we referenced tonight on your YouTube channel, you can go back in and edit and, you know, make links in your comments, right? So I mean, it's after the fact.
In the show notes of the
you know, I mean, you're not going to get it live. You're not going to do it live, but you know,
that's true.
You could sneak all those great little porn sites in there that we talk about and all that. on.
All right.
Where are we going? Who's that?
So
I feel like I'm in the back seat, you guys, you know?
Yeah.
just take me for a little ride.
So I wanted to talk. Let's talk about what I really want.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
Before we do anything, I want to talk about your shirt. You are wearing what we, when I went to Conestoga College in broadcasting back in 1979 when I started, that's basically when the CBC changed their logo.
Yeah.
And this was the future, right? I mean, I had a great ball cap with the CBC logo at that time. And of course, wanting to get into broadcasting anyway, I'd wear any network shit just to, make myself feel like I belong to the network. But that logo, we used to reference it as the exploding asshole.
And you know what? The meaning remains the same with Jay wearing it right there. It is still the exploding asshole.
What?
I love it.
Hey, and like they say, it's a good thing it's not smell-o-vision.
Whoa. So you fuck.
What?
So you started in broadcasting school. Just get ready for this one, everyone. When I was born.
Is that right, eh? Well, you know what? That was a cool time. It was that period of time. The music was awesome. I worked in a record store at my local mall for like half a year as the manager. I DJ'd at dances and did a lot of weddings and all of that stuff. But I had decided that I wanted to be a radio DJ when my dad got me an audio cassette tape recorder back I was 10 years old, so 68. So
Yeah.
I'm a 10-year-old in 1968, and you know what's happening in 68, and friends of mine.
No, Danny, we don't know what was happening in 68 because we weren't,
know what
Danny, we weren't alive, Danny.
So you don't know anything previous to fucking 1979?
No.
1983. Very important.
Shut up, Adrian.
Are you, Adrian? Are you 83?
I'm 83. Yeah.
Wow. No, you know what? Some of my great years shooting in the beginning were,
in the
during
80s, early
period
80s.
of time. I mean, hey, it's always a project in development. One day you're working your ass off, and then the next day you wake up and fuck, you're 62 years old and you're still in the industry. And you know what? I'm so lucky that I've been able to shoot video, photography, do that, and sort of stay alive. And I mean, go through all of the transitions in tech. Oh my God.
Like this is so crazy. Everything that you have, like the length of time that you've been working to have gone through all these technological changes.
Yeah. But the problem is that when I look back at a lot of the things that I shot, I mean, fuck, man, I would have killed to have 1080p, when I was there, rather than the NTSC 575 that we were shooting, where if you look at the TV screen up close, a CRT cathode ray tube television, there was so much non-information projected in that red, green, and blue little spot, right?
Yeah.
Compared to now. And you can always tell when you look back at news footage or 1980s, when the camera went more portable in video style than as a one piece. That 575, it just looks like shit. And I can't believe as well, even though at the time I thought I was shooting more cinematic, that I was shooting, this box, this 4:3 ratio.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to something, widescreen cinematic CinemaScope.
Yeah. Did you ever shoot on film?
Well, yeah, a lot of 8mm film, a lot of Super 8mm film. It was mostly all for creative. 16mm, never shot it because when I entered the broadcast world, they were making a transition. So my very first job that I had in broadcasting, actually, I was a courier. I was still at Conestoga College taking broadcasting, and CKCO TV got a hold of me to actually run their film. They were taking their film processor out of the shop at 864 King Street in Kitchener. The only place you could process film that was near, and we had a lot of news stringers still using CP16, cameras. And I would take it to CHCH TV in Hamilton. I picked the film up at 5 p.m., drive it down the, escarpment into Hamilton. I would go to CHCH's newsroom, which was basically at a house at that time, give it to the processor, and just sit and chat and wait in the newsroom until my film was ready. Then I'd pick it up. I'd drive it back to CKCO TV in Kitchener. And then the editors would get it probably about between 9:30 p.m. and 10 o'clock. And they would edit it for the show that would run at 11:20 that night.
Wow.
And that was my first job. But
Jeez.
you
would drive the film to Hamilton.
Yeah.
Get it processed, drive it back.
I mean, CKCO TV in Kitchener, they had their own film processing up until the time when I started there. Then they pulled it out because they knew they were going to make the transition in news, electronic news gathering in a video rather than a film.
Yeah.
Huh. That's crazy.
So what was Conestoga College like in 1979? Because just to give some background,
Conestoga College, it's still here. It's still like
and it's a vibrant part of the community.
Totally. Like in Kitchener-Waterloo, we are a huge student community. We got University of Waterloo, University of Laurier, Conestoga College. Hey, Sean. And
that guy.
Taking a quick break to say hello. And Conestoga College is huge. I've got buddies that are professors there now. But yeah, tell us what it was like back then. Like, is it what do you remember from the television program?
What do I remember?
Nothing.
You know what? When I applied for broadcasting, I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to do radio.
You have a voice for radio, bro.
Oh, damn it! You just beat me there. I was going to say you had a face for radio.
You have a face for radio, Denny.
Yeah, well, exactly. Don't I know it? Anyway, there's nothing new there. But anyway, so my plan was, the local radio station in Tillsonburg, Ontario, where I'm from, suggested I go to college for radio. I applied for.
Danny, we want to tell you that we think that you have a long career ahead of you in broadcasting. We think that you should. We think that you should go into radio. Thanks, guidance counselor.
No, you know what? I mean, we never went to the guidance counselor in high school. Unfortunately, it was terrible back then, right? Like anything else. But anyway, just a short story. I applied at Fanshaw's radio course and the one at Conestoga. The Conestoga course, though, was 3 years, and it basically included 3 years TV radio, where when I applied at Fanshawe, it was only for 3 years or 2 years radio. I got accepted both, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll do one more year, get the TV, and see, whatever, right? And so I chose Conestoga College to do radio TV. It was an interesting course. Basically, you learned everything from day one, radio and television. And then your last year, you specialized in what you wanted to do.
Right.
So they taught you the gamut of radio and television. But you guys will never understand what this is. But when I was there for television, they had IVC, I think it was the International Video Corporation, 1-inch videotape. And it was unlike any format that was being used anywhere in the country at that time, because we got hand-me-downs. You know, basically the CBC would ship shit down rather than throw it in the trash. You know, they'd go, hey, well, we'll just donate it to Conestoga College, right? And then, so we would get a lot of great tech that was maybe years old, but it was crap. You know, by the time
It's
we got
mighty good of those exploding assholes.
yeah, you know what I mean? What we had available in college as far as you know, we were using 3/4-inch videotape. We had maybe 1 or 2 recorders. We had 1 or 2 cameras that didn't have at that time, because we're using tube cameras that didn't have burns. I don't know, you guys know what a burn is, but you know, if you shot anything bright back in the day, you could get a burn in the tube that actually, you know, picks up all the light, and it would be there permanently.
Yeah, so it would be like where the light would come through the lens and into the mechanism of the camera. It would be because it was intensified by the lens, so it would almost be like a magnifying glass, and it might burn it.
Is that where like people with non-digital cameras used to see those like lights in all their photos and would attribute it to like angels and stuff?
You know what? Think of this film. Have you ever seen YouTube, or not YouTube, U2, when they were playing in the Red Rocks? Famous video of one of their very first early concerts. And anyway, they ended up having probably Satacon tube cameras, and the lights from the stage made burns in the video. So they're shooting this whole video, and the cameras, I mean, at the end of that, I'm sure that they were probably all ruined.
Yeah. But Jay, to answer your question about that, no, that's light leaks, and light leaks is what happens when you have, like, your film is exposing inside the camera in complete darkness, and
you got a leak in your
yeah. If some light leaks in, it ruins your film. But that's become a trendy sort of look for aged film, because like it can happen at any point where like you're changing the film in the canister and then some light gets in, or whenever, at any point.
Yeah. You know what? There were even cameras that were made, video cameras, that if they fell over on their own, there was a back cap that went across the actual aperture and closed it off, so no light would get into it.
Wow.
And I learned that by flying in a decathlon airplane down near Windsor, Ontario. I was shooting with a camera, which was at that time a Satacon news camera. It was the Hitachi FP21 camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it hooked up behind my seat to a 3/4-inch Sony recorder, which was strapped to the back of my seat. A 2-seater decathlon, pilot in front of me, I'm in the second seat. And this guy that I was shooting was actually a Spitfire pilot. Cliff Robertson had a Spitfire plane, and the pilot that I had was actually flying that plane in air shows and everything. But anyway, Jerry Billingsley is his name. He like got shot down in a Spitfire behind enemy lines. He escaped. He was a crazy guy. And I find myself in the situation of shooting behind this guy, and I'm holding the camera. Like back in the day, we didn't have mounts or anything, and I got this fucking heavy camera, and I got it over my shoulder, right? And like I am fucking glued to make this shot as steady as possible, you know. And we go and we're flying, and all of a sudden he goes straight up into the air to do a corkscrew, which I didn't know what it was. He just says, "Get ready for the corkscrew," and he's turning as he's going straight up.
Sounds amazing.
And then he comes at the peak, and the engine stalls, and he brings it out of the core and then straight back down to the ground. Engines start up, and he starts going down into the corkscrew again. When I got out of the plane, my hand was cramped like that, like for like 20 minutes. I couldn't get it undone, right? And we looked at the footage, and it was crazy because I mean, most of the stuff was great when we're going up, and then when we do the tilt, and then when we're coming down, and then as we start doing the corkscrew down, all of a sudden we see this black, and it's covering the frame, and we're going like, what the fuck is that? Like, I knew I didn't have my sleeve or something in front of the lens,
Right.
but what we did find out was with that camera, the Hitachi FP21 camera, is that if you actually tilted the camera 90 degrees, like you couldn't shoot 90 degrees because the back cap would cover the shot. And so anyway, the gravitational pull was pulling that back cap onto the shot as we were twirling down.
That's crazy. Now, when you got to the bottom, did you find that you had shat your pants?
No. You know what? That's something that I haven't done. Only because, you know what, I'm an adventure seeker. You know, you can't believe some of the situations I put myself into to get the shot, right?
That's awesome.
And you know what? I'm not saying that the baby Jesus is protecting me or if I got an angel or something like that, but you know, you're looking at a hardcore guy that grew up before GoPro, and you wanted those shots, you know. You had to put your butt out on a limb and try to get it somehow where, you know, I mean, the greatest part about shooting anything back then was having anyone go, how the fuck did you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So still, I will say, like, you know, it's funny, like, we've worked with you a number of times, and like, let's get into that a little, but you know, it's still funny to see, like, you take the biggest camera we've got and you're like, yeah, I'll walk around with this big guy on my shoulder. Like, you still, I can't, I remember a couple of years ago we had worked together once, and I was at was it the Indy 500 or something like that? This was a bunch of years ago, and I was climbing up some sort of thing, and down there I see you, and you had this monster rig on your shoulder, and you were just off doing your thing, whatever it was on the day. But yeah, you're a guy that throws the big rig up on the shoulder for sure.
Well, yeah, you know what? I mean, the camera that I currently use in motoring, it's quite a unique story, actually. It's the Sony F9-100. And to believe it or not, and this is probably something that no one would ever think, that we actually shoot digital beta still.
Huh.
We're not shooting on disc at all for that show. It's all on tape.
1080p?
It's at 1080p 24 or no 24p, but
it's probably because there are so many of those cameras around. Because I actually, when I started as a camera assistant, we shot a lot of movies on those little tape, those Sony F900s.
Well, I mean, when the Sony F900 came out, which was basically, you know, the golden gem of Sony when they were delivering an HD camera.
Mm-hmm.
George Lucas picked it up and shot his first Star Wars.
That's right.
With that camera.
Yeah.
And you know what? At that time, the camera, I mean, you could only buy it from Japan. And depending on the fluctuation between the Canadian dollar and the Japanese, is it yen?
Mm-hmm.
Was crazy enough that, I mean, the body, when we got two of them, it was just over $100,000, and our lenses were 40 grand, and that didn't include, you know, all the little accessories, batteries, tripod, all of that stuff that we're bringing in. But you know what? Still to that day, I love shooting with a big camera on my shoulder. Today, it
just doesn't feel, you know, like, it doesn't feel the same.
In front of me,
yeah.
You know. Yes, of course. You know, like, you're going to make love to this thing. You're going to dance with it. How many times you slept with a camera? I can't believe how many times, you know, just even in safety's sake, so nobody would rip me fucking off on a train, you know, that you're cuddling that thing like it's no tomorrow, right?
Guys, this camera episode is getting sexy.
So, Danny,
and let's not even talk about back in my day when you'd add lubrication to the side of the lens like Vaseline to make soft, edges. It's like, what the fuck? Then you spend like 2 hours trying. Who the fuck put all this Vaseline on?
You're like,
it was
DOP
Danny.
wanted it. The DOP wanted the Vaseline.
Hey,
we got no Vaseline. What are we going to use, guys? What are we going to use?
Here's a quick story that I hate to my day. When I was shooting Betacam, where you actually had only one camera, you didn't have a recorder bag as an additional piece of equipment. That I used nylon, really thin nylon behind the lens connected to the camera to give it a soft look. So we were shooting at that time 575. It was 30 frames a second. But if you were to put the nylon in the back, it made it look more like film. It made it look more like 24p that we loved, right? And at that time, I mean, for a video guy to make his stuff look like film, those are the things that we used,
Yeah, you know what? And I've only heard stories. When I started, I heard the Vaseline and the nylon story from older camera assistants that I was working for. Who were like, they would be like, we didn't have a Pro Mist. We'd have to put Vaseline on the lens. Oh no, you just take a stocking and you put a stocking over the back of the lens, and then it kind of softens it up a bit.
Smoke and mirrors, right? Smoke and mirrors is so true in everything that we do. I mean,
Danny, tell us what happened straight out of Conestoga. How was your trajectory into kind of a stable working as a cameraman?
Okay. So I did that job where I do the film run and everything. And then all of a sudden, a great guy who was the production manager at CKCO TV, Pat Fitzgerald, bless his heart, he's gone now. Anyway, he picked me up. And I ended up starting cutting news. So I was a part-time news editor. So I would edit like 7 till 11 at night, the nightly Ontario Report with Ron Johnson. Ron's a great guy, by the way.
He's the best.
But anyway, so I started editing news. And then, you know what? I started shooting and...
Now wait, were you editing the news? Were you editing the news on film at this stage? It was film that was being run down to Hamilton.
3/4 inch video.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? CKCO at that time, we had a huge news reach. I mean, we had 3 or 4 channels. We were the signal of CTV Kitchener at that time, that they call it now, CKCO TV, was the broadcast area was all the way down to Windsor. And it spilled over into the U.S. into Detroit and Port Huron, and then went all the way through southwestern Ontario, and then went all the way up to Parry Sound. Like our coverage area was larger than the CTV CFTO in Toronto at that time.
Is that how you ended up driving all over the place shooting, or like did you end up starting to shoot any of the news?
Oh yeah. When I started cutting news, I was shooting news part-time. So it was almost like, I'm part-time news editor. And then maybe on the weekends, I'd be behind the camera. I could let me tell you the story. And I'm sorry, like, I don't know how much time we got here, right? We're all right?
Yeah, we don't have a time limit.
Okay.
I mean, maybe Adrian has a bedtime. It's hard to say.
Here...
Go ahead.
You all right?
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay.
He's kidding.
Let me tell you about my very first news breaking story that I ever had to shoot. All right. I'm still like just an amateur guy editing the news, and the news finishes at 7 o'clock that night. And the news anchor, Ron Johnson, comes down, and all of a sudden, on our police radios, there's this fucking large noise. Ron goes over. He goes, "Oh my God, there's a hostage taking at the 3 Corners in Cambridge at the Tim Hortons. Somebody has got one of the employees by knife inside, and he's got no camera people at that time. And I just finished cutting the news, and I had shot a little bit of video, but not a lot. And I said, well, I could probably go out and get your shots or whatever, right? Because he only needed it for a voiceover or whatever. So anyway, he said, yeah, go get gear. Go up in the engineering department. They'll set you up, put you in the car. So I get in the car. I drive all the way to Cambridge to they call it the Forks, or, we're 24 and 8, or not 24 and 8, but you know what I'm talking about in Hespeler? Anyway.
Oh, I know the Fork. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, the Tim Hortons there's the hostage taking, and at that time we were driving these like 1979 Ford Mustang hatchback cars. They looked really cool. They had good paint jobs and everything, and I had all the gear packed in the back. Now remember, I'm using a camera attached to a 3/4 inch recorder for the tape. And anyway, as soon as I arrive on the scene, all of a sudden, the flashing lights and everything, my fucking adrenaline is going like crazy. And on the radio, I'm hearing, hey, you're at the site yet or whatever, because we had two-way radio to the newsroom. I'm going, hey, I just arrived, whatever, and I'm going in. So I go to the back of the car. I put the camera gear together, which meant that, you had to take the camera out. It had a battery on it. You turn the camera on. You'd hook the recorder up to the camera via a cable.
Yep.
And now I'm walking towards the scene, and I fucking trip on the cable between the recorder and the camera, and it fucking rips the cord right out of the camcorder. And I go, oh my God, I totally fucked up. There's no way that you could put it on, because I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing cracked pieces, and I'm just going like, holy fuck, right?
So you're like, how do I salvage this situation? Everyone,
go back to the car.
I'm filming. And he gives up his hostage.
No. So I go back to the car. Where are the fucking keys?
No.
I couldn't find the keys on me anywhere. Luckily, I didn't lock the car. And I thought, you know what? I was doing all that work at the back, so I had to crawl in through the back and then feel my way through the darkness of the hatchback, and found the keys, and then crawled back out, opened it up, and then I radioed the newsroom and said, hey, sorry, there's no footage here, and,
And that guy stole the car.
I wish.
What did you say? Did you say I broke the camera? Did you come?
Oh yeah. As soon as I went back to CKCO, I saw the same engineer who gave me the equipment, right? And I told him what happened. And at that time it was like anything else. I told him I was excited and accidentally tripped on the fucking cable. If you've ever worked tandem to a recorder, it's a totally different world. It's like doing live TV on a cable, which a lot of people look at a camera and go, oh, it's a camcorder and you're free, right? But if you're attached to a wire or a cable, it's a totally different story. Like,
yeah, we did in 2005 or so. I don't know if you remember my buddy Mike, but we went and did interview style filming at some of the Comic-Cons, and so we had a great big camera. It was like a Panasonic DV7 or DVC7 or something like that. So it looked kind of big, but it was pretty light, luckily, because I'm not very strong. And but we actually had like a long XLR cable plugged into a microphone and plugged into the camera. So, anytime we were doing any filming, we had this like long cable between the two of us, and I would hold the excess cable or whatever. So basically nobody could walk in between the camera and the interviewer, because we had this like long cable. So anyways, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, being tethered, it's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than the freedom that these kids have today, what the fuck?
And
these kids, are we these kids, or
yeah,
are there
other
other these kids? Yeah, fair enough.
You know what? I love you kids, right? you employ me at least once a year. That's awesome.
Well, it's funny. Like I remember the first time.
Money.
I remember the first time I met you.
Sorry. I just wanted to make sure that
That's amazing. Come on.
Better than the exploding asshole.
There's no better promo. Look, hey Mandy, she's drinking shitty wine. This is amazing. What I was drinking, there we go. I was drinking Apothic Dark. I don't know. It's like it's like an evil pharmacist wine.
Is it very delicious?
It was pretty good. Not gonna lie. Finished the bottle. Now I'm on to, light calorie beer, I guess. So welcome. But I remember when I first met you, I think it was you and I were the first two people to arrive at the set of Malco's short film, and I even think that you may have been the first person. You and I had never met Mike Malco before.
Yeah.
We were just showing up to kind of help him out. And I can't remember if it was Kijiji or Facebook or something like that we jumped in to help him out. Was it Kijiji? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were like parked, or I was parked, and one of us pulled up, and we were like, "Hey, how's it going?" And the two of us started to kind of chit chat prior to anybody arriving. And I remember like, here's a like a hilarious dude. There's no way that this guy is a filmmaker. In my mind, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? He's just a nice dude. And it turns out, we start going, and you're like, oh yeah, these guys should be doing this over here. You knew more than any of us. It was the best. It was the absolute best. I loved it. It was so cool to work with somebody who knew what they were doing.
And I will say, for me, you were like an enigma on that first day, because you were just there helping out some kid on his first, student shoot, or his first film shoot, but you were a professional. You were like a professional in the industry, and I just like at that stage, I was like, when you first told me, you're like, oh no, I shoot all over the place. I shoot, car TV. I go all over the world shooting, and I was like, what are you doing here?
This is it. We thought we were just a bunch of random, just dudes just helping a guy out.
Yeah, but you know what? At that time, I mean, I was looking at you guys like equals, right? I mean, you're trying to make something, and I knew the job that I had, which, you know what? I love that job. It was fun.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I've talked to you over the years, and what I really loved is that you've always had this, I don't know if attitude's the right word, but like this feeling where you're like, yeah, I see somebody that needs, I got to figure out how this whole camera thing works. I see somebody that needs like a little bit of help, and maybe they're smaller than where I was, or they're not quite where I was, or whatever, but I want to jump in and see what they're doing, and if I can lend a hand or say something or whatever, or be there for them, because I was there once upon a time too. And I don't know, I think that you doing that is a huge benefit to the younger guys that are coming up and trying something new. Like, you've been around on a bunch of the projects that we've worked on. I mean, we broke your face and Shifted. We totally,
You know what? When I think of that though, and you know what, Tabby Weaver, talk about that girl. That's a girl you gotta have on your show, right? I mean,
yeah.
But
totally.
Anyway, the only brutal part about Shifted, and I loved working on that film, but the part where we had those appliances that we had to put in our fucking mouths, right? And they really made you drool. I mean, it was the most uncomfortable feeling that, you got this shit, like rolling, and I'm going, well, in normal cases, you'd be wiping drool off your face anywhere, right? But now it's part of the show, right?
Listen, everyone on Facebook and YouTube, get ready.
Am I giving anything away?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Adrian's working nonstop. now that Art of Eight Limbs 2 is
Yeah,
about to come out, Shifted is our #1 priority.
That's right.
Danny's worked with us on both of our Art of Eight Limbs series. Danny, Art of Eight Limbs 2, you were right in the action. You were
right. Yeah.
You were right in the corner, and like a couple times, I thought you were going to get an elbow to the face.
Yeah. You were close.
You know what I mean? I've had quite a bit of experience shooting on the edge of a ring.
Oh,
right?
really?
Oh yeah. One of the I'll tell you. You want to hear a quick story?
Yes.
I did a shoot with a friend of mine, a great friend of mine. He's a producer in Toronto, Claude Barnes. His dad, Dale Barnes, was putting together a pilot, and it was called Primal Fury. And this is before UFC. This is when basically there was just, the ring, open hands, and you just gave it, right? And they actually they had rented a location. We shot in this industrial plaza somewhere that had a ring, and it was a closed set. I mean, we brought people in and everything, but at that time, what we were doing was actually illegal. That kind of fighting, and we were basically putting together a pilot that would actually sell in places like Dubai or somewhere in the Middle East where the regulations are so lame, right? And you know what? Yeah, I got splattered probably a few times with some blood there,
Oh,
and
man.
just seeing these guys open fist. But first time I ever saw any kind of Thai fighting was in Bangkok back in 1985. I did a documentary over in Burma and spent quite a bit of time in Bangkok, in and out, and saw this everywhere. Right?
What was the doc that you were
Muay
doing in
Thai,
Burma?
What's that?
What was the doc you were doing in Burma?
The documentary that I was shooting in Burma back in 1984, a set of conjoined Siamese twins were found in Burma, in Rangoon, Burma, by a Canadian doctor from Sick Kids Hospital who had previously unconjoined twins and brought them over to Canada and separated the twins back in 1985. And there was a documentary being shot, and I was asked to actually go back to Burma, delivering the twins on separate occasions back to their parents in Burma.
Wow.
And I remember though. I'm walking down the hallway at CKCO TV one particular day in probably, it must have been like May 1985, and a producer says, "Hey, you want to do a shoot in Burma?" And I went, "Yeah."
Where's
And then
Burma?
I went to the fucking library because I had to go to the library, and I'm going, "Okay, where's Burma? Is it like south of Michigan or or whatever, right?" And that's how I got into that one. But I mean,
this is an important lesson for all the kids. You just say yes.
Yeah, totally, right? Get in there.
Are you willing to do X? 100%.
That really changed my whole output. I mean, I shot a lot of video in Ontario. At that time, I'd shot video in the U.S. as well, but I never really shot anywhere in Europe at that time. And the producers and I mean, we had an awesome fucking shoot. We traveled through Amsterdam, then into Bangkok, and then into Rangoon. And at that time, in 1985, when our film crew went into Rangoon, we were the first television crew that was allowed a visa to get in there for 2 weeks to shoot, previous to the National Geographic that went into Burma in 1961. That's how closed the country was at that time.
Wow.
And then all the shit hit the fan in 1988 with the riots, and I mean everything changed or whatever. But I went there twice during 1985, and I mean, both those shoots changed, the whole style structure of taking gear, getting it together, flying across the world to the other side, and then, just having whatever come at you and deal with it and bring home what you've been hired to do.
Now, what
that's awesome.
what would be you've shot a couple other documentaries, some that are kind of pretty close to your heart there. Can you talk about a couple of the other docs that you've done? And then is there times when you've thought, like, I really need to bring the gear that I'm bringing on the shoot, like, very, very minimal? Or have you always, like, in I don't want to say in your day, but has there always been a lot of gear?
There's always been a lot of gear, but not a lot of people with the gear.
Right.
I've always shot, like, mostly as a single shooter.
Right.
So in most cases, what you're doing is you're traveling yourself with a producer. Usually it's a 2-person crew.
Mm-hmm.
And, so basically, I mean, anything that I can give as far as advice to anyone who's flying anywhere. Back when I remember flying across the world, maybe going to England or whatever, or wherever, we go to the terminal in Toronto at Pearson, and we'd be taking our sticks, our tripod would be fucking carry-on. And then we would just talk our way into, having the stewards pack it in their little, cubby hole or whatever, where they put their own shit, right? Because it wouldn't fit over top, right?
Right.
And then, of course, we got smarter and we bought a tube, and we'd pack. So all the stuff that wasn't electronic, or most of the stuff that wasn't electronic, would always be sent as checked-in luggage. Camera always went on board. Camera always had a tape loaded. It was ready to go. Like, fuck, if you had to grab it, like, I'm not going down the slide until I pull the camera with me, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So where were we going with this?
I was just asking what were some of the other documentaries that you've done that, like, were
yeah, okay.
that meant a lot to you?
Yeah.
Because you've I want to jump just quickly through, like, some of the things that you've done. You've really been in some major motoring, and maybe you can talk just quickly about, you've had a long career shooting, race cars and cars of all sorts all over the world. It's funny, like, over the past number of years that we've known you, now and again we reach out and you're like, oh yeah, I'm off to Germany to do this. I'm off to, wherever to jump.
But
And
those
still,
are those days, right? You know what? I don't know where to go with this. I shot a lot of motoring. Motoring has been great. I always liked a friend of mine, Keith Murphy,
Mhm.
introduced me to auto racing. And when we showed up at Moseport, we had press credentials. And those press credentials got you to places where the public wasn't allowed. And I mean, that at that point, it was like, wow, it was like a stepping stone. It was like, I mean, an incredible, free food, free booze, whatever situation. And I don't know. You know what? I mean, if you've been backstage at any major event, whether it be large concerts or award shows, or, you're wearing, you know, you got the credential on your chest and you can fucking go anywhere that other people that can't go. It's pretty exciting,
Yeah.
right?
And you get to
Go
give
behind
people
the curtain, right? You go
you get
behind
to
the
give
curtain.
people a look. Yeah, exactly. You get to give
Yeah,
people a look at what
you
they
know,
can't normally see, right?
I mean, all the everything that I've ever done. I mean, I've shot 3 separate shows with the Rolling Stones where I'm just walking around and, I'm interviewing people that are involved in the show. I'm shooting interviews with the band. I'm at the stage. Like, you remember the Toronto Rocks concert? I was the closest to the stage for the whole show. I was camera number 7, and I was sitting on a dolly being pushed back and forth at the stage for the whole show. And I never left camera. I shot everything. I had my lunch brought to me or whatever, and shot the whole show just sitting down behind my lens.
So tell us
for every band that came through.
Tell us
it
about
was fucking amazing, right?
And tell us about the dolly grip who had to push you back and forth. How was he doing at the end of the show?
You know what? Unfortunately, I can't even remember his name.
He must have been a strong young man to be able to be shoving you around all night like that, backwards and forwards,
Adrian,
and backwards and forwards. Or woman.
That's right.
Oh. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm telling you stories, and there's so many, right? But you guys want to talk about your new show?
No. I want to hear about your work with the Trailer Park Boys.
Oh,
talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah, I want to hear an amazing story about Bubbles. That's what I'm hoping for.
Okay, I'll tell you an amazing story about Bubbles. All right. Let's see. This all goes back to like 2009. Brad Diamond from the Motoring Show and Pete McCallum, the camera guy, meet up with Trailer Park Boys at the luggage rack or luggage carousel at LAX. And it was like, from what Brad told me, it was either JP or Rob looked over and went, "Hey, I love your show." And then Brad went back and went, "Hey, we love your show too." And then the two, everybody just got together, melt there, and went, "Hey, we'd really like to do something maybe sometime or whatever." Yeah. So a year goes by, and I'm actually on a train. I was shooting the Special Olympic Summer Games in London, Ontario. I've done a lot of Special Olympics, by the way. Something else we can talk about. Anyway, we're on the train. JP calls Brad Diamond and wondering if he can get a car so that they can race in the Targa, Newfoundland. The Targa, Newfoundland is basically a 5-day, 6-day rally where you take your cars and you're just, the whole road is open on the rock and you're racing. So anyway, everything comes together. We get a car. And next thing I know, we've got a whole crew in St. John's, Newfoundland, and we're hanging with the Trailer Park Boys who are going to drive this fucking Porsche Cayenne throughout the fucking, race. I got the greatest gig. I got the best team. I got the team that, like everybody wants to be around to get autographs or whatever, right? Anyway, here's my Bubbles story. Previous to shooting the actual event, we went to Halifax and we went to the guy's place and we went to JP's house and Bubbles was there. I mean, what was crazy as well is that we were able to get the whole family. We got, like JP and Rob, their mom and dad came, their cousins, and we're interviewing everybody who are basically the family of Trailer Park Boys, of the actual actors, right? The people that you never see. So anyway, it was basically about the first time, and Mike Smith was, he wasn't Bubbles at the time, right? He was just Mike Smith, right? And we're at JP's house, and oh, what a party house this was. I mean, this wasn't the place he was living in. This was like the party house for Trailer Park Boys. And you walked in, there was a whole huge room with musical instruments so they could jam or whatever. Down in the basement, full bar. There were video games. They had like a setup of 3 Daytona 500, racing games. They had a small theater, and we're shooting interviews with everybody at that time there. And so anyway, I introduced myself to Mike Smith, and in the short conversation that we had, he says, "Oh yeah, well, I'm going to see Guns N' Roses that are playing in Los Angeles or whatever as soon as, you know, we get done this. And then I looked at him because it was so fucked up. I mean, I'm not a big Guns N' Roses fan, but I like their music, and you know, they've done a lot of good stuff or whatever. I love Slash and all that. So anyway, Axel was in the news like a week before that, where he was on tour, but fuck, he was fucking up, right? And like places were, you know, declining payment and everything because he was 2 hours late, or you know, not even showing up. And so the first thing out of my mouth, because I'm thinking, okay, well, I know a little bit about Guns N' Roses on that site. I go, yeah, well, I guess fucking Axel better not fuck up this time and actually show up to a gig. And Mike goes, well, Mike says, he's actually a good friend of mine, and I'm staying at his place. And I just went, oh, fuck.
You're like,
you know?
well, then you tell that son of a bitch.
No, you know what? And I've seen Mike several times after that, and I think because of the opening of my fucking statement that we've never really, like, I'm not as close to him as I am with JP and Rob, and Randy, of course. Yeah, I mean, that was it. But I'll tell you one thing. Professional, give an autograph, a great photo with any fan, hardworking guys, have their own channel that I subscribe to for $4.20 a month. You know,
on YouTube.
Yes, sir. Well, SwearNet. I don't. You know anything about SwearNet?
No, I have absolutely no idea what SquareNet is.
You know the Trailer Park Boys.
SwearNet.
Yeah. Okay, well, the Trailer Park Boys. The Trailer Park Boys did a movie called SwearNet, and they were basically trying to get money to race a car. So it was almost like everything they put in SwearNet was things that they had gathered during our Targa Newfoundland shooting, right? But so yeah, SwearNet is a movie. It actually received a Guinness World Record, not an Oscar, but a Guinness World Record for the most swear words in one commercially released film.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
totally. I mean,
and Samuel L. Jackson was pissed.
Yeah, that's right. That's fucking right.
Motherfucker.
But anyway, you know what? We had a great time. It was awesome. They're so professional and so unlike the characters that they portray. You know,
yeah,
in a good way. Behind the scenes.
Oh, darn.
Sorry to blow your bubble.
Sorry to blow your bubbles.
So, Danny, you've been moving around sort of Ontario and the world, busy shooting lots of things on your camera. What are some of the other creative outlets you have? Because I'll tell you, in preparation for our little chat today, I looked at your website and I was like, Danny Bailey, you do a lot of shit. You do a lot. So tell us about some of your other artistic outlets, from canvas art all the way to digital art and looking at abandoned buildings, and then tell us about prop fiction.
Well, before you don't talk about, let me just say one thing about abandoned buildings. There was an Indiegogo ages ago. I think you were involved with maybe the first season of, was it Photo Explorers?
All of it.
You were involved with all of it. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about Photo Explorers and what that was all about and where they are today. Is it still going?
Well, Photo Explorers was basically started out with another series that I shot with my friend Claude Barnes from Keep It in the Family Productions, and it was basically a couple of guys that were premiered in a show that we did called Behind the Camera. And Behind the Camera was I shot that series for a while, and it was a crazy great series to shoot because I mean it's like if you're into film, you're shooting behind the scenes of film, you're making film, you know, and these people that we shot were all photographers doing different things. The subject matter was different, the processing was different, and we came across a couple of guys that were shooting in abandoned buildings, basically trying to find art in the decay of the building. And at that time, this was even before Detroit really became, you know, like a hot topic of decayed buildings.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were really on the edge, and so anyway, we ended up getting a green light from Bravo TV or
Ooh.
Bravo, you know, when Bravo actually sponsored the arts. Unlike a lot of other channels now, which, you know, like Discovery is not science, it's just fucking whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when Bravo covered the arts, Photo Explorers had the opportunity, and so we ended up um, taking the team of photographers that we had. There were five, and we went for 10 days throughout Europe, and we went to locations that they had already prepared and researched,
That is
and
so
places that
cool.
were just, you know, like fucking unbelievable. And there was an underground, or is an underground, of all these photographers, right? So I mean, you can hook up if you're going to, you know, Paris or something like that, or you know, and you know, you can hook up with people that are into it and travel, and the locals will show you how to get in. And you know, we never broke into buildings. There was always a way in.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we were in, we started, you know, like I mean, I was documenting the five guys shooting. I was also, I mean, I I was so envious because I wanted to be on the other side of the camera at that time because I mean,
For sure.
you know,
You mean with your own camera?
yeah.
Because I will say too, like,
Photographing.
you know, you know, again, you and I have been friends for, I don't know, five
100
plus
years.
years now, and your camera, your photos, sorry, of you know, abandoned buildings and tractors and all that kind of stuff. I love it. I'm always like, I share pictures with Adrian. I'm like, oh, look, Danny knows where there's a creepy old barn, and we're gonna go there someday. You know, uh, that's when I'm scrolling through your Facebook feed. I'm like, oh shit, I'm safe. Danny knows where this is. So yeah, it's just, I can tell that when you were filming those guys, you wanted to be there with your own camera.
You know what though? I'm gonna wrap up the Photo Explorers with where I stand with shooting that kind of photography. And I mean, I loved it. I did a lot of it. It was like whenever I saw a building that was abandoned, or someplace closed up or whatever, I wanted to get inside of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I had that passion to discover, you know, what lies behind some closed place that no one has seen for whenever, right?
Mhm.
I mean, one of the greatest places was just down the 401, the old Woodstock OPP station, which is
Oh.
off of Highway 2 exit right
Ooh.
there. It's been abandoned for, I don't know, 15, 20 years or whatever. But I mean, a lot of shit went down in that place, right? I mean, the history of all the crap back before, you know, cameras were on cops, and, you know, they had the free will to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do, right? And you know, I mean, when you're seeing files that are sort of like labels on different file folders that say Hell's Angels, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, I
That is cool.
mean, there's so many stories that we don't even know, but you know, places like that that still have the jails in the basement, though they're half flooded with water and you can't get into them because I mean everything's deteriorating. And these are places that you drive by all the time, right? And I mean, they're harder to find now, but needless to say, I'm going to wrap up the Photo Explorers by just saying this. In Woodstock, Ontario, there was the Capitol Theatre. And to anyone who shoots decay, theaters were always wonderful, right? You had the seats, you had any, Art Deco, you had the screen, the stage,
Right.
whatever. And there was a theater that I had frequented when I was a young kid, that had been closed for years and pretty much sealed. That I thought at one point a place adjacent to it that I thought about renting and then burrowing a hole through the wall into the theater, which I
Yeah.
knew like nobody's going into that theater at all. Run my AC in there, and I got this whole fucking crazy place. And I had a dream where I did that, and the cushion seats, you flop it down, right? It turned to black goo.
And you were like, guys, photo exploring is over.
That was it
That's
for me.
that's disgusting.
I mean, you know what? I mean, I put myself into so many situations before that where you're going to unexplored places where Mother Nature can fuck you up. There's all kinds of poisonous plants, as well as the overgrowth. You could fall into a place where somebody took the manhole cover years ago, but there was just like, high grass around the whole thing, and all of a sudden, bang, you're through. Crawling through tunnels to get into other places where, with the backlight that we're using to try to light, us going through the tunnels, and you can just see the asbestos is floating in the air. And I mean, at that time, we were photo explorers. We weren't wearing masks, I mean, we were hardly even, cleaning off our tripod feet, not to take the contamination with us on another shoot. Like the next day, you go or you get back to Canada and you're shooting in, Aunt Mabel's fucking kitchen with white carpeting or something and drawing all the, crap that you previously shot with. But
now, I will say, I would not want to go into asbestos laden buildings, and I would not want to fall into a manhole, but I would totally love I'd probably do like the baby stuff. I'd probably do like, I wouldn't get too intense with it, but I would love, there's that abandoned hotel, as you're leaving Kitchener on the way to Cambridge, past the old Costco, there's that huge tall abandoned hotel. That would be very interesting.
I want to own it. There, you know what? If you drive down Highway 7, at one point you're gonna find like an old abandoned elementary school. You're gonna find like on the way to Perth, you're gonna find an old abandoned motel.
There's lots of abandoned motels for sure.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And you just whenever you see one, you're like, A, you want to go take some pictures. B, you want to go shoot something there. You know, on the way to like from Kitchener to Brantford, there's like a old abandoned like a tunnel with a train, like a train tracks with an old tunnel, and it's all overgrown and stuff like that. You just find these things and you're like, oh my god, I just want to go there and shoot a scene in there, something scary, So we love it for sure. Danny, you've been doing some short film kind of stuff. Talk about the short film that you had some pretty good success with your son.
Well, you know what?
Plot fiction.
Yeah, plot fiction. You know what? Here's another situation where it was just, I live in Kitchener, but I usually say this is like my exit from the Bat Cave, and I go to the airport and I fly somewhere and I shoot, or I'm going somewhere from there. And it was a local film challenge. Daniel McLeod put it on. It was like a weekend, 48-hour, whatever. And it was like, hey, if you want to get involved, here's the gig. Send us, the information that you want to do. But basically, they would give you something as a prop that you had to include in your film.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great idea, because I mean, it's not like you can just pull something out of your archive and just like throw it into the mix, right? And so anyway, the actual prop. So anyway, you shoot it, you write it, you shoot it, and on Sunday it played on screen at the Princess in Waterloo. I mean, how great can that be, right?
Come
You're
on.
guaranteed to see your actual production on the big screen,
Yeah.
no matter what it was. I mean, unless it was pedophilia or something, but you know.
No,
But anyway,
we don't want that at the
so
Princess Cinema.
anyway, my son Steven, and he agreed that we would do a film. We were given a banana or fruit. Fruit was our actual prop, and so I had actually shot some footage of a couple of old guys sitting on a park bench or whatever, and I shot it from behind because it was so great. It was at the end of my lens, and you couldn't tell. You didn't see their faces, but you knew there was interaction where you could insert your own audio. Put in whatever you wanted for the dialogue, right? Which, fuck, those are great shots, always funny, right? And then just do the close-ups of the I was thinking of some kind of fucking star fruit or something at his boot or whatever. You cut in all the fruit shots, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve didn't like that. He came up with the idea, and I give him praise for it because I mean it made such a better film. So yeah, basically, we decided to do a banana, and we decided that this guy was going to end up waking up over a hangover and having something to eat, and the next thing you know, he's got troubles, but the story had a happy ending all the way around, right? And I mean, it was all shot like within, I mean, we shot it at my place, and I shot out on the porch. I had a stock shot of an aerial that I put in the beginning just to give it some kind of cinema cinemascope kind of opening or whatever, and then went from there. But what I like about the film is that I love the cut at the end where we cut right to the graphic, right? I mean, it ends the film. It's so fucking hard, right? But it leads people to wonder, what the hell is going to happen. But there's no dialogue, so the film could air anywhere
Yeah.
in the world, and everyone would understand what was going on. And to me, that's what I really like about that film. And you know what? I got lucky. I thought, hey, what the fuck? I mean, I got it in the Waterloo little film festival that Daniel McLeod had,
Yeah.
and went to film Freeway, I guess, and I would just I entered into so many different food film
I'm
festivals.
like
Never got
your
chosen.
your title really, to me, is what got you into so many festivals. The title was amazing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Exactly, right? And I mean, I was able to find the same fonts, and I mean, and the banana that I actually use on my film poster, which is like a perfect smile, and I
Yeah.
think banana that ended up in that final shot. I went to No Frills. I'm shopping at No Frills, and they got yellow bananas all over the place. And I see this big yellow banana, and I go, "Fuck, there's my shot right there, right?"
That's
So
my
I go,
banana.
I buy, I'm going through all the bananas, but like before I shot the film, I'm going through every banana trying to get like perfect smile. I need that curvature, right? And so yeah, we at that point as well, I saved, and this is the best part of the story of that film was I didn't know if bananas would float in milk, and we saved it for the last shot, right? And I'm going, holy fuck, okay. So anyway, after we shot my Steven, on the toilet and all that, got all the shots together, I said to him, I said, okay, here's what I've done. I mean, I've gone and I've got like, what was it? Oh, we used a lot of cream because you wanted consistency to like thicken up the milk, right?
Right.
I said, but you know what, dude, you're gonna have to empty the toilet. So he actually took a cup of, and he's scooping all the water out right into the sink next door so that we can get of course, the milk in there, and anyway, the banana would not float.
So what did you do? What did you do, Danny?
I had a couple of little suction cups. They're like, little suction cups that would have a hook on it that you could hang a photo on or something like that. And I was actually able to put it on the porcelain. So I said, okay, we take all the milk out of the porcelain, right? And I stick the two
Guys,
suction cups.
This is filmmaking, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 101 suction
I
cup
fixed-
in toilet bowl.
I fixed the two suction cups and then put the banana. I don't, fuck you. Bananas. I mean, they're temperamental. I mean, you're trying just to
Yeah,
get it right.
especially film bananas.
Yeah,
film bananas,
and
temperamental.
their union. Fuck that union. I'm telling you. Anyway, so we get the banana on there and we pour the milk and the cream and we get it just right and it fucking worked and that's the show. Anyway, I should release.
So amazing.
It.
So
You know
amazing.
what? Nobody's ever seen it except those on the film circuit. Or
I just put it out. I just put it out to the world.
Hey, premiere 81.
Hey, there you go. Check out Pop
Nice.
Fiction, everyone. There's the
Yeah,
Vimeo link.
Well, you know what? I mean, I would have pulled out some red carpet. I thought if we thought we're going to release this tonight. But
well, I like having firsts on the show.
Yeah, well, 81st.
There you go.
So what's next for you, Danny? What does the future hold for Danny Bailey?
Well, you know what? Today I was working on one of my current shows. I have this great show. This is a funny one because it's all in French and I don't understand, a single word.
The show
right?
is great. It's amazing. It's the best show I've ever worked on. It's French.
Yeah,
I don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah, well, you know what? Fortunately, I have a crew that all understand that I don't understand French, right? And it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and bang, this is what we're going to do. But it's a great show. Basically, in English, it's called Louie the Exterminator. So we go into neighborhoods, like think of house and garden television where you're going into houses and exterminating the pests.
Right.
So today we had an incident where we had a family of raccoons living in the basement, in part of the back basement of a house.
So wait a second. You are literally, somebody calls you up and they're like,
we have
some snakes in our house. We have some snakes in our house, and you guys just like show up. Yeah. And you're like, whoa. And you're like, let me get in there with my camera, and some French guy's like, I'm going to exterminate these snakes. That's my French. That's my French.
We got a 4-camera shoot going on,
4 cameras.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to miss any of the action.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know what? And we're in our 3rd season right now.
Amazing.
And it's Uni TV. UNIS TV. It's a French channel.
Cool.
Popular with French en passé Canada. And we're in our 3rd season.
So it's a good show. An exterminator show, hey?
You know what? Louie, who is our exterminator, he is so much fun. He's a guy that you'd walk across the street to have a beer with. And you know what? I mean, it's a huge problem, right? If you have rodents in your house, your investment, and these critters that are in your house, most of the time, they are in there and they're going to cause a lot of destruction unbeknownst to you.
Right. Danny muted himself. That's fine. No worries. No, Danny, it's fine. You can totally just leave. You just leave the show. That's fine. Show. No problem. It's fine.
Not one for long goodbyes.
There you go. Mandy's sitting here drinking wine and getting drunk to Danny's stories. This is what I'm talking about. I'm also drinking a lot and listening to Danny's stories, so I'm pretty happy about that.
I am not drinking. A lot.
What's up? What's up? Why aren't you drinking, bro? Wait, listen.
Upstairs.
Oh, that's fine. While Danny's away, Danny's just came back with a second beer, a 14th beer. I'm not sure. What's going on with us right now? Let's give a super quick, super fast Fable Forest Films update. What's going on? And let's keep some surprises.
Okay. So basically, we've just you're glaring right at me through the screen there.
Let's keep some surprises, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, some magic has to hang on till episode 82. Get ready, everyone.
100%. No, so we just finished 8 Limbs 2, and that's off to Bell Media, so that should be released probably within the next couple of weeks. And other than that, we're turning our attention all the way to Shifted, and we are going to finish this movie with a vengeance. Welcome back, Danny. Did I miss anything, Jay?
No, I had a little tick. I needed a new beer.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that you guys probably saw, and we might have talked about it. But we did we talk about it in episode 80? I'm not sure, but we did release our website finally.
Mm-hmm.
So the fableforest.com. It's not perfect, and there's some things that we still need to add to it, but the fableforest.com is our new home. That's our new hub, and we're going to start to add stuff to it. But when you go to it, you'll get the sense of what the new site's like. Hey, look, Tabby, we were talking about you earlier. Tabby, look at this face. Look, Tabby's. Tabby, our wonderful
baby.
I know Tabby's gonna kill us. Tabby is our wonderful SFX and makeup artist, and worked with us on Shifted, and just had a young man, a new baby. Young man in her life. And we've been watching Facebook posts, and Tabby's finally getting back into, I assume, painting all of her stuff. She does body paints and face paints, and does all kinds of craziness. And I'm sure we'll try to get her on the show.
Of her career, she's gonna explode.
Tabby is crazy for sure. She does all kinds of great stuff. Thanks, Mandy. Thanks for the saying the site looks awesome. Yeah, Tabby, you ruined Danny's life. Listen, I don't know if you're watching right now.
No. Oh my God! You know what? I can't wait though. I mean, we'll have to come back with the photos like before and after. Like what's Shifted is. I mean, that'll be fodder for, the promotion, right?
Yeah, something happened. Danny had like a weird. Danny, I'm gonna share Danny because you were like, "Don't tell me."
You got it?
But yeah. Danny sent me a photo. He was like, "I don't know what happened, but I had a weird reaction to the mask that we put on."
You know what? Seriously, it wasn't Tabby's fault at all.
No,
I'll tell you,
it was 100%. First of all, it was our fault because we got you into this mess.
Oh no! You know what? So we shot on Saturday, and then we came back Sunday, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And Sunday night when I got home, I didn't wash my face.
It was funny. We put Danny was one of our creatures, and Danny sends me a photo, and he's like, "Look at my face," like this, and his face is like, and he's like, "FYI, I have a meeting. 3 people are coming in to see me, and we're pitching a show."
From Los
and my
Angeles.
face looked like.
I'm going like, fuck. I'm going into Toronto today, working with people that I've only conversed with, via email. We're flying into Pearson. We're gonna meet up. We're doing a little bit of a shoot.
And literally,
I go up and I go like, you know what? I had to show them the photo of what Tabby had created of me, just to say, this is what I really look like, like yesterday.
Guys, yesterday I looked like this. Today I look like the Elephant Man. Sorry, everyone. No. Please trust me with your money and your cameras. But Danny, you got the job. You got the job, right?
Get greenlight?
Yeah, he did. He got it.
Did the show go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I make the cut.
because he's a professional, you know. Danny, what apart from our stuff, because we're so unprofessional. What's anything else that you kind of plug that you've jumped in on that was pretty cool? Any cool stories? I mean, I know you have a million stories, but you know.
Okay. Here's a quick one.
All right.
Back in the day when I was editing at CKCO TV, and all you needed to know was basically the punch code of like 4 digits to get in the back door. And I was still in college, and we didn't have access to pro gear to put our shit together. So, we would come in after hours at the TV station. There'd only be one guy there who would be in master control, and he'd be, like doing whatever. And we'd be down in the basement, doing all of our shit. Anyway, all of a sudden, we hear this alarm go off, and it's the cop radio, and there's been an accident out on a Blair Road. And so Mike, my buddy who I'm with at the time, it's like 2 a.m. We grab all the TV gear, we get in the car, and we drive out to Blair Road. And we get there, hook all our gear up. And there's a yellow strip of tape across the road. Of course, the cops aren't letting us get into the accident scene. But down the road, on the straightaway of Blair Road into Galt, you can see, there's a crashed vehicle, there's a fire truck, and maybe about 20 feet from where we're actually at the ribbon, the yellow ribbon, there's a yellow tarp over what we presume is a body. So there was the two of us from CKCO and the record reporter, and we're standing there. A cop comes up and he says, "Hey," he said, "can we use the light on your camera?" And I went, "Well, it's actually attached to the camera. I can't give it to you." Of course, I could have, but I told him it was attached. And he said, "Well, can you help us out?" And I went, "Yeah." So then the yellow tape goes up, we go under, and now we're following the cops with the bright light that I've got. And I've got a battery belt around my waist, powering the lamp.
Old school.
Yeah, totally old school, right?
Yeah.
It's like a 200-watt halogen light or whatever on top of my camera.
And they never noticed the little red light that was on.
Those battery belts are crazy.
Right? But you know what? I mean, back in the day, we all, any news gatherer knows the red lights fucking go off. You turn them off, right? You don't want,
or you cover it. You cover it with a piece of black electrician's tape.
Whatever, right? I mean, if you can't turn it off internally, then you cover it up. Or the art of not looking like you're shooting, right? I mean, that's a whole different story. But anyway, so now we're walking down the road, and we're getting closer to where the actual car that I saw by the fire truck, and they're extricating people out of this, like it was like a small Toyota Corolla or whatever, and the fire department are there trying to like use the jaws of life to get the person out. And we swing around there, and of course the whole time I'm rolling and I'm getting a shot because I'm now closer to the accident than we had been before.
Right.
Now we start walking up the right-hand side of the ditch. And there at my feet was a leg.
Yeah. I feel terrible that when you said "there by my feet," my first thought was there were some feet.
So it was a motorcyclist who had lost his leg, and they were looking for it. That's what I found out because I didn't know at the time.
Sure.
So I mean, every day, you're shooting something, but you don't know what's, I mean, the funniest days in your life is like, I thought it was just a normal day, and then, bang, something happens.
So, Danny, I want to ask you two questions. Number one, think about it for a second, but like, you know, you've been a cameraman for many years, and do you have a couple um, pieces of advice either for like a cameraman that's been in for a while or somebody that's just starting out? But like, do you have a few things to say for next generation camera ops?
There's so much, you know what? I'll tell you one thing right now, you never stop learning. You know, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're confronted with, and unless you're in a studio and you're shooting Marilyn Dennis doing the Marilyn show or whatever, where that cut that like you're in the studio and it's a confined area and there's not going to be a fucking airplane crash or there's not going to be some kind of mania that you're going to have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
That the best thing you can do is shoot everything, like, I mean, they always say, never work with animals and children. And you know what? They're right about that. Totally right.
when
Uh,
you're on set, like when you're in the field, let's say, what are just a couple things that you're like, these are a couple tips and tricks that you always, that you've learned over the years that
okay. Yep. Yep. Number one, whenever you're on location and you're using your own equipment and you're using bags, if you go into that bag to grab something, zip it up again.
Oh,
yeah.
Too many times, like you'll be working and you'll be comfortable in your own little environment, and then, somebody goes to get something or whatever, and all of a sudden they pick up the bag and everything fucking falls out of it, right?
yeah.
That is a simple one. Next one is lens cap. If you're shooting DSLR or whatever, lens cap, I always put in my right pocket. That's the place it goes. I always know it's there. Um, get a large silk to clean your lens, right? Don't go for these little dinky eyeglass, lens cleaners. Go for the big silk. Um, those are just, like little simple, yeah. Because I don't really know. Like, I mean, if you give me another situation, I could probably tell you a tip.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
I mean,
I'm gonna give
right.
Adrian a second. I'm gonna give Adrian a second to think of an awesome question. But let me ask you. There's something that we ask a bunch of our all of our guests whenever we have a new guest on. And I think, like, I will just tell everyone that we've literally been talking about getting Danny on our show. We've been talking about. I'm looking at your sweet ass bar in the background with the lava lamp and like all the photos. And I think it was like season one
Yeah, I
of
know.
Art of Eight Limbs. I stole
I
Danny's
know.
SD card, and I was like, Danny, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you your SD card back. We're gonna come over and we're gonna do a podcast and we're gonna check out your man cave, and just literally my fault, but like forever we've never gone over to Danny's house, and then we're talking about kind of kicking back off. First frames first. This is our fourth year, by the way. We're kicking off our fourth year. This episode 81. Um,
Yeah.
and we
Crazy.
took a little bit of a break, and but now we're back, and we're going to try to have shows on a more regular basis. But we've been wanting to talk to Danny for ages because he's got so many stories. But I really want to go in the bar. I want to have some beers, see the lava lamp, talk to your face in person. But I think one of the questions that we always ask people is, what are your desert island movies, Danny? What are your three movies that you love that you can watch over and over again? Uh, eh, eh, you know, that you would bring to a desert island. They might be terrible. They might be like absolute garbage movies, but they're like comfort. They warm your soul, and you don't mind watching them. Every week for a year.
Wow. Well, you probably don't know this, but here's another story. When I was in grade 10, I'm sitting in my homeroom class, and the announcements come on at 9 a.m. after we sang "O Canada." And the announcement said that the Strand Theater, the local movie theater, is hiring an usher, a new usher, and to go to the Strand Theater and apply. So, like, I cut my last class that day, ran downtown, did the interview, got hired, and I was an usher at a movie theater on Broadway in Tillsonburg, Ontario in 1972. And the crazy part about that was that I worked on weekends when we had, restricted blue movie films, right? Like we had, the Russ Meyer films. We had, I mean, I don't know if we ever had Deep Throat or not, but, um, I worked in a drive-in movie theater and a movie theater for like 4 or 5 years. Um,
Adrian just put a blanket over his schwanz. You started talking about the blue movies, and Adrian was like, I don't know what's coming next, but I better just take this
Hey, you know what?
blanket and
Like it was crazy though. I mean, I was the envy of everybody in high school. The guys, going, yeah, I know Debbie did, Dallas.
Okay, Danny, look, no X-rated movies. You got to choose something that's a little bit more.
Okay, here's a film that I say I watched when I was in the theater and at the drive-in when it played, and I worked that night so much, but I know the movie off by heart. I know all the music. I could tell you the scenes when the music's playing, and that's American Graffiti.
All right.
Amazing.
Yeah, George Lucas's first film, right?
Yeah.
I was. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. My second film is Phantom of the Paradise.
Okay.
Oh. I haven't even heard of that.
Okay, and number 3?
Number 3, I think, was Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look. I've heard of 2 of those. And I have seen one of them. I've seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I've never seen American Graffiti.
Oh,
as
no?
terrible as that is, everyone's going to be upset. I actually watched Grease for the first time ever a couple
You
days
know
ago.
what? And the funny thing is, I've never seen Grease, and
You've never seen Grease?
No, and then I was looking at your comments.
Yeah.
Wondering, hey, should I go there? But I've never gone there, even though it's like the drive-in movie theater kind of movie. I don't know, but
Yeah.
anyway.
I've never seen American Graffiti, and I've always wanted to.
Yeah,
Because
you
I
should
think,
watch
if
that.
I remember, young Ron Howard, right? Am I right? Or
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
totally.
yeah.
I mean,
So
you know what? Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So many, Richard Dreyfuss.
Mhm.
There's so many
That's right.
actors that got their big break, and they're, Suzanne Summers is in the film, right?
To be honest with you, like, I've never seen what's that other early George Lucas flick, like the sci-fi one? Was it like that's I haven't seen that either. Like there's a lot of like classic movies that I literally just haven't seen, and I do feel bad because as a
You
film
can't see them
producer,
all.
well, you can't. It's hard. But like as a film producer, like you talk to people and they talk about certain movies, and you're kind of like,
Yeah, but you know what? Truly, I believe it all depends on the kind of filmmaker that you are. Like, I've never seen Titanic. Why? Because, well, fuck, I know the ending. And you know what? I understand how it's a great film, but I have no interest in spending whatever amount of time to watch how they made this boat look like it was sinking, right?
right.
I'm, I rarely watch a lot of fiction. For me, it's documentary filmmaking, and I don't know, sticking to that kind of or reality television.
Danny, what do you think about that show, Alone? Have you watched it? First of all, have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
It's like
Which one is it?
it's like the one where like they send I don't know 8 guys out into Vancouver all by themselves with their own cameras, and they gotta try to stay there as long as they can. Have you heard of that show? I think it's probably on Discovery or something.
Huh.
Mm.
So I mean, but is this like?
It's like reality TV, but there's no cameraman. It's like literally they give each person
Yeah,
like
it's like
3
yeah.
GoPros or whatever, and out they go. It's pretty
But
hectic. It's pretty cool.
what are they doing?
They're essentially they drop them off with like I
No
think each
money.
of them. No. They're literally in the forest or in the
Oh,
forest of BC, and they
okay.
literally
Yeah,
get like they get some cameras, and I think
yeah,
the crew gives them some medical equipment and like a sleeping bag,
yeah.
but they have to choose their own 20 items. It's like a tarp and a knife and a
You
pot
know
and
what? I
whatever.
mean, yeah, those shows are great. I mean, my wife watches the one where they're naked, right? Naked and alone or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I watch a lot of shows where people are naked too.
but you know what?
I like the
Totally
cut of
not
your wife's jib.
totally not my style. Like, I mean, I've had so many opportunities to shoot Survivor, but do you want to actually go and fucking, shoot everything? Like for me, I'm structured better to, putting a storyline together where I have more opportunities to choose what I want. But I don't want to go on a huge film crew and just
Mhm.
fucking be rolling all the time, right?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got friends that have worked on that show, and it's incredible. I mean, the backstories of Survivor. I mean, they could make a lot more money. They could probably buy my subscription if they would just show the behind the scenes of putting that show together and everything that goes on with that.
Yeah.
But
That's a beast. That show is a beast. In
totally right.
post production, it would be a beast for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, as a camera operator, you go in the morning, you grab your camera. You never change your white balance or anything. The camera's set up by techs. You go and you shoot, whatever. You make sure, of course, your aperture is correct and you're getting good
Right.
light and all that. But you're fucking rolling on everything, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
and
How many, Danny?
sounds like
Danny,
torture.
you
right?
mentioned that you've got friends on Survivor. Like how many camera ops do they have on a show like that? Would you say? Just a rough guess. Like,
Oh, well, you know what I mean. They have enough for 3 shifts throughout a day.
you
And
know,
then plus, I mean, behind the scenes, you have audio person, right? So you've got camera, you got audio, you have a producer, and then you'll have, a production assistant that will be, humping gear for the camera guy, and maybe another person,
but
right?
they
So
do those like diary cams or whatever. Do you think that's a setup, or do you think that there's a guy there? There's got to be human beings there. You know what I'm
well,
talking
you know
about? Where
what?
they
Survivor doesn't use diary cams, but in those cases where you're watching those shows where the people are shooting themselves, I mean,
yeah.
it's all based on Survivor, man. Like all
Mm.
these people are given lessons to shoot their own shit.
Oh, so
Shoot,
they're
right?
given like a GoPro or whatever, and they're like once a day, go over here and shoot yourself doing XYZ. Make sure you're lit properly.
Totally. I
Blah
mean,
blah blah. Oh,
because
okay,
that's why they're there, right? Is to
right,
make content.
right. That's cool. Yeah, I mean it's hectic. There's so much footage. Like you think about 16 people always doing their own thing, plus you gotta be capturing all the moments. Those camera guys.
Yeah.
Finding
You know
when
what? I mean,
those two gross, dirty human beings are falling in love.
yeah. You know what camera or you know which show is Canada's #1 television show?
Big Brother. I don't know.
No, Amazing
Art of Eight
Race.
Limbs season 1.
Amazing. Yeah, I wish. Amazing Race.
Amazing Race. Yeah.
Right? And I've got friends that work on that show, and I tell them all the time, you guys are fucking mental, you know? Like they're going into these series for, 40 days or whatever, and you go with the flow. If you get some fucking turd team you're following going the wrong way, and I'm going like, fuck,
What's
I'm
wrong with
hoping
that?
shit, and I'm going, like I don't want to be with that kind of a crew, right? I mean, I want to know that I've got some kind of creative input. I mean, in most cases, these guys don't because they're fucking wide and they're following and they're chasing and they're trying to make sure that they don't have any interference in their audio and the pictures are good and they're shoving their media out and uploading, and when you get back to the hotel, you got all that crap. I mean, every day you got all your fucking shit that you got to check into a hotel, right? And then you got to go on to the next place, and
charge your batteries.
Charge your bat, right? Exactly.
Everyone, charge your batteries. No jokes.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, how many hotels? I mean, first thing I do when I go in a hotel, look for the outlets, right? The newer places are great where they have USBs and that hooked into lampshades or whatever you've got. But I mean, fuck, that is hectic. And they don't get a lot of time to smoke weed and drink. The next morning you're up early and you're gone.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because if a cameraman can't smoke a little weed and drink a little bit when they're shooting Amazing Race, I mean, what's the point?
It's legal.
That's right. All right, so Danny, let's let's wrap it up. But I wanted to ask you: is there anything you shot a documentary about a cancer patient recently? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Probably one of the most challenging things I've ever put together. Ewing sarcoma cancer, it's sort of like what Terry Fox had. It happens in young people. They complain of sore legs or something where they're mostly misdiagnosed by doctors. And then what ends up happening is that the cancer gets worse, it metastasizes into other parts of their body. And, at a young age, they end up like passing away. And friends of mine from Labrador City connected with me on another shoot that we were doing and said, hey, would you have any interest in doing this documentary? And like anything else, right? Say yes. And then of course when I started making the documentary, I'm just shaking my head going, oh my God, I'm going to put together something, a cohesive story that's going to be an hour 30 or whatever about cancer. How are you going to make it like, I don't want to, put down cancer, but entertaining enough that to bring the viewer throughout the story from beginning to end. And I wrestled with it a lot. But when I finally finished it, it happened to be probably the greatest documentary I've ever made.
Can I can share the link in the comments,
yes,
right?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Please.
Cool. Yeah. Well, listen, Danny, I really first of all, we're back, and we're going to try to have regular shows. So thank you everybody for joining, and thanks, Danny, very much for being on the show. I know we ran super long, but I mean, the thing is you got more stories than some people. So fuck. I mean, what are you gonna do? We gotta run a little longer. We gotta
sometime. We gotta turn the camera around.
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, the thing is people get to hear our stories all the time. So we bring
I enjoy tuning in. I mean, I just love it. It's like a family, right? We're all doing what we like to do, and we're connected, and we're working, and I mean, it's been incredible. I love it. I love it. And we're all in Kitchener, right?
And that is actually like that's one of my favorite things is that you guys are 12 minutes away.
That's right. Like the thing is we've got honestly, we've got a really cool group of people that are all trying, well, we're trying to be successful and do the thing that we want to do. You are like an inspiration because you literally got in and then started working and then have been doing the cool thing that you've been wanting to do for years and years, and you've got stories and you've met people and you've been all over, and like honestly I feel like um people who are starting to take the broadcasting course or starting to take camera op courses or whatever, they're like, this is something I really love to do, I want to learn all the tech, blah blah blah. You take a lot of young guys that are learning the new tech today, and yes, maybe you learned on different camera equipment and different technology, but a lot of the principles stay the same. And
Totally.
traveling the world with camera equipment and like having to navigate all the problems and things like that you might run into, you've got a lot of really cool advice for people. So it's cool to just listen to you talk, and we definitely have to have you back on. And maybe next time you come back on, what we do is we take people to like cameraman school and some behind the scenes stuff of like, what are some tips and tricks that you do when you run into this situation, whatever. What happens when you fall in a puddle, up to your waist, and you still got the camera, and you have to like build a fire and take off all your clothes and get naked in a sleeping bag with one of your crewmen, but you keep the camera up all the time. I assume that's what you guys do. I don't know, but you got to keep the camera safe, like your gun when you're in Vietnam or whatever. So I'm assuming there's a lot of like tips and tricks that you guys
Hey,
use.
there's so much we can talk about.
Amazing.
I
I'm
think
hunting.
you
I'm
kind of
hunting.
covered it all right there.
Yeah, you're like
Yeah, that's good.
I never want to talk to you guys again. I'm trying to find. Oh wait, one more. Sons of Butcher. Talk to us about Sons of Butcher quickly.
Oh my God. Great show put together by Red Green's company out of Hamilton. We did a cartoon show for the Cartoon Network where we replaced, bodies, animated bodies with real heads. It was almost like a Clutch Cargo, if you can remember that kind of show where they insert the lips into the cartoon
Hmm.
characters.
Hmm.
We went for the heads. Um, anyway, 2 seasons, great cult following. The guys are still doing a lot of stuff. Um, and I mean, I can't just tell you how much it was amazing just to work with those people, and you know what, and doing something where you're working with a lot of green screen and you're having actors looking at certain, like we had microphone. Uh, Microphone stands that had hamburgers or like little items that you would look at. Okay, look at the hamburger. Now we have the
Right,
right eye line, right?
right,
And if
right.
you're talking to the hamburger, and then once you put it all together, hopefully it doesn't look like a bad Cheerios commercial where the bees flying around, but the kid in the shot, the actual kid is not looking at the same place where the bees flying. I mean, that's always a challenge there. But yeah, it was a great show. I love it. Sons of Butcher.
If
All on
if
YouTube.
if people haven't heard of Sons of Butcher, Danny, where are they from?
Hamilton.
Hamilton, yeah.
Yeah, Hamilton,
Um,
Ontario.
they
The
have
Hammers.
everyone should just take 1 second. I mean, we're coming up on 2 hours, so if anybody's still watching, congratulations. But if anyone hasn't heard of Sons of Butcher, you should probably just go online and search for their hit song, Fuck the Shit. It's excellent, and it will become your phone ringtone for some time.
I really wish I
Uh,
would have shot that. I did.
it is the best. So,
Okay, you know what? Let's just close this off. I want to tell you, you haven't asked me what my most famous shot is.
okay, well,
What is your most
we're
famous
not going
shot?
to. We're gonna end the show. We'll see you later, Danny. That's fine. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh!
I'm just kidding. We're bringing you back. Fuck.
No,
It's like an encore. Talk to us, Danny, about your favorite moment.
If I have one shot from beginning to end that has more views than any other shot, I think that I've ever captured.
Yeah,
It was the lucky time during the Trailer Park Boys Targa Rally Newfoundland race where I captured a Subaru crashing into a house.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find this.
Let me see if I can find that quickly.
Wait, Danny, do you have the link for this in our?
No, all you gotta you know what? Just go Targa Newfoundland crash house.
All right, I'm gonna look for it. Here we go. If I could type faster, this would be a better show. Here we go. Targa Newfoundland. Oh, here we go. Okay, hold on. Oh, hold on. Now we're gonna add this to the stream here. Can everybody see?
Yeah.
Oh! Whoa! Hold on.
So this is you, hey Danny?
That's right.
Oh man. I hope he's all right.
And the crazy part was that both driver and navigator weren't hurt at all. I mean, had they been killed, my shot would have never made the air, right?
He looks pissed.
Yeah. Michael Louie, he's a great guy. And the funny thing was that I met him like 2 or 3 years after this in the lounge in Air Canada on an international flight. And I went, Mike Louie. And then I told him who I was, and we got a photo together. It was great, I mean.
Here, hold on, we're going one more time, Danny. Here we
Okay.
go. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Here we go. Oh, those poor bastards. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, there's so many stories. I mean, I got a million of them.
Yeah. I'm sure you hit refresh on a regular basis, but just as an FYI, that's been viewed 198,430 times. So I don't know when you checked last.
But I mean, it's everywhere, right? I mean, people copied it.
That's right. Amazing.
Anyway.
Well, that one's on Motorin.
Oh,
Motorin
okay.
TV.
Yeah.
Danny, thanks very much for being on the show. And
hey, great to see you guys.
Yeah,
Danny.
It's hard. God. We got to ask one more question. Hold on. Are we 157? Here we go. 3 more minutes, less than 3 minutes before 2 hours. Then it's got to just shut down. How you doing with COVID? What's going on with you? Are you loving life, or are you getting outside and breathing fresh air, or what?
Man, I should be doing so much more than I am. I mean, I'm getting out, walking every day. Of course, online, just trying to catch up. Organizing shit. But I think my alcohol level, consumption's been up a bit. But
mine too.
But meals have been wonderful, right? More time to make some great dinners and just just find out different things to enjoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Like I can't wait.
I love it.
To be over with. The only thing I love about it, the only thing I love about COVID is driving into Toronto.
That's right.
Sorry to say that, but
Adrian and I, we drove into Toronto today, and we were like, huh. We got all the way from Kitchener-Waterloo to Pickering in about an hour and 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So
yeah, no traffic.
No traffic. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna shut it down, everyone. Thanks for whoever stayed with us the whole time, and Danny, thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks, Danny.
That was amazing. All right, everyone. We'll see you again in a week, maybe 2 weeks. We'll see. Yeah. We're back. We're podcasting again. So thanks for sticking with us, and we'll edit the episode and try to put fronters and backers on this whole thing. I don't know, or we're just gonna leave it as is. Who knows what's gonna happen? But listen, enjoy, and we'll see you again. We do things. We do things on the. We do things. You know. What are you gonna do? All right. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cheers.